Hello everybody, welcome. Dan Moss again with another music theory lesson. Besides understanding basic scale structure, you need to know how to read the music. Now, you can't do anything else without understanding that. So today's segment is on reading. Now, reading music, you just have the two things that you need to understand. Rhythm and the notes. When to hit the note and what the note is. So, start with rhythm and move to notes. As you can see, I kind of have a tree set up. I cut the tree in half to save space, but it goes down. You start longest duration, and you keep going to the shortest duration. Mathematically speaking, there can't be a shortest or a longest because the numbers divide infinitely. So we'll keep it in common meter. First note here, which looks like an open donut, is the whole note. It lasts for a whole measure, 4 beats. You cut that in half, which gets the donut with a stem, which is known as the half note. Makes sense? You cut the whole note in half, you get a half. So that lasts for 2 beats instead of 4. Cut that in half, you get the quarter note. From there on out, name of the notes, you can kind of get them. Quarter, eighth, 16th. Quarter note is a filled in circle with the stem. Eighth note, it's the same thing as a quarter note, but you add a flag. The further down you go, you add another flag for each time it's divided down. So quarter note, one note per beat. Eighth note, 2 notes per beat. The way you'd count it is like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Pretty simple. And move down to the 16th notes, you get 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a. You get 4 notes per beat. That's basic rhythm. It does get a lot more complex, and I'll have another segment on time signatures and complex rhythms. Now, going over to the notes section, that's speaking about, like I said, what the note actually is. So, each line on the staff, which is the lines you see going throughout music, each of the lines and spaces corresponds to a note, and the different clef that you're in decides what line and space is what note. Easier way to say it is, for instance, in treble clef, the lines and spaces are different notes than the lines and spaces in bass clef. Treble clef, also known as the G clef, because the swoop circles around the G line. I'll start with the lines going from the bottom up and then to the spaces. Starting with the lines, it's E, G, B, D, and F. Then going to the spaces, you have F, A, C, and E. Easy to remember as face. As you can see, I have written in a quarter note, F, in treble clef for an example of how you'd see it. Now in bass clef, the lines are G, B, D, F, and the top one is A. Starting at the bottom of the spaces, it's A, C, E, and G. There's no real trick to remember that, but bass clef, F clef, the dots on the side of the clef symbol circle around the F line. So, if you ever need help remembering that, just remember bass clef is F clef. That's basically all that is. There are more complex clefs, alto and tenor clef, but they're barely used beyond Renaissance period, and they're kind of a terrible thing to get into. You also have different instruments which are centered on a different note. For instance, trombone is in C clef. Well, it's in C, not C clef, but it reads bass normally. A piano reads bass and treble all at the same time, but it's standard. You've got other instruments like the French horn and the saxophone, which have to transpose. So I apologize, but it's a pain in the butt. So I think everything will be okay. If you're learning those instruments, I'm sorry. It's a pain in the butt. But, anyways, like I said, the next segment will be on complex rhythms and time signatures. I hope you enjoyed this segment, and if you haven't been able to tell, I'm a bit of an otaku fan. You can call me Otaku-kan.